It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. Another night with your favorite trio, the real trios champs, let's be honest, here on Wrestling Inc. for the Wrestling Inc. podcast after AEW Dynamite. Good evening to everybody watching live. Hello to everybody live in the chat. We appreciate you as always. Hope you're going to have fun with us. And again, thanks to everybody out there in audio world checking us out on an audio-only podcast whenever it's good for you. It's all good here. I am Justin LaBar alongside my dynamic duo of partners. First, fresh off of the beat, fresh off of her wild weekend where Puerto Rico was the center of the pro wrestling world. She is riding high, almost as high and flying high as a Bad Bunny would. She is the one, the only Demon Diva, Issa. Issa, how are you? Have you recuperated from the weekend?
I got very sick afterwards, so I'm still in the process of recuperating. I had no voice for 2 days, but listen, worth every second of it. It was the best weekend ever.
It's certainly we obviously we did a podcast. You guys can go back and listen to it. But yes, it was a hell of a show. Jimmy and I talked about it Saturday night. And Jimmy Korderas, long time, over 20 years, sports entertainment referee at WWE. He's reffed a few Mania matches, few title matches here and there. He is the one and the only. Jimmy, how are you tonight? Other than the Toronto Maple Leafs coming into a daunting task.
Yes, at least they didn't get swept. Let's put it that way. One game at a time. I will take this. Now they're coming back home. Who knows? You know what? If they get past the next game, hey, you never. The momentum switch could be very interesting. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying it'll carry them, but hey, like I said, at least it wasn't 4 straight and out.
Hockey is a funny game. You never know. Take it one at a time. I'm taking it one at a time. Loving my Baltimore Orioles, who are just they're on a roll. They just won a series against the Tampa Bay Rays. They're a couple spots ahead of that team from the Bronx. Can't think of the name at the moment, but real good time to be a baseball fan in my house.
Ooh, heat. I sense heat.
It's a typical Orioles fan. You know, they always start talking right before, like, we'll talk in October, LaBar, okay? Let's have that conversation in October.
Let's talk in October. You know where to find me. All right.
In vacation, because you never make it. Anyways.
Let's talk all things AEW tonight. The 2 news items that we're going to talk about kind of play right off of something we saw on Dynamite. So I'll pull a segment from Dynamite real quick now, and that is tonight on Dynamite, we see Tony Khan, we see the boss, and he addresses the AEW audience and talks about how this is one of the best lineups Dynamite's ever had. Talks about the great action you're going to get tonight. And it is a stacked show on paper. They kept saying pay-per-view worthy. And he says even then, there's still plenty of other really good stars lining up, just waiting for opportunity here in AEW. So basically kind of teasing more programming coming. And he says, tune in next week. Now, a couple things. He says, tune in next week to TNT. And he did clarify on Twitter, he meant to say TNT. And, of course, Dynamite's on TBS. So he said tune in to TNT. And then also make sure you then tune in to Dynamite that evening. So kind of leads you to believe there's a couple announcements going on. Before we get opinions and reactions, let me give you these 2 news headlines from today on WrestlingInc.com. And the first being AEW and Warner Brothers probably having a new TV deal here. And it says that according to the Wrestling Observer, AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery are set to announce a new TV rights deal as part of Warner Brothers Discovery's upfront presentations next week. For those who don't know, that's the event that the TV does where the networks roll out the best of what they have coming, the new debuts, what have you. AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery will reportedly announce the new deal, which is said to include an announcement about a forthcoming AEW Collision program on May 17th. In the theater at Madison Square Garden as part of the world-famous arena that was home base for AEW's competitor, WWE. So there's talk about that. There's talk about maybe the HBO Max platform. Maybe is that something where we're going to see All In air on? Is that where the pay-per-views are going to air on? Because they have not yet clarified how you're going to watch it if you're not one of the 60,000 that's going to be at Wembley. So there's that whole that story. And then the other story is AEW reportedly planning a marquee match for this Collision debut, possibly featuring or likely featuring CM Punk's return. Fightful Select reporting. It's been rumored that Collision will begin in mid-June. It's noted that CM Punk will be part of the debut show, expected to wrestle in a marquee match. While it's been proposed that the opponent could possibly be Chris Jericho, it's being reported that it could be somebody else that Punk might be lobbying for to make a big return. So a whole lot going on, Jimmy. Talking of new TV deal, which obviously is a bigger picture for the next, however many years. Talking of a new TV show that could be about a month away. So maybe he announces one thing on TNT. I believe playoffs will still be going on in TNT, so it'll be a huge audience to announce such. And then, of course, more announcements on Dynamite, probably about maybe CM Punk. What do you give me your first reaction to all of this AEW chatter?
Well, it sounds like that, Warner Brothers Discovery is very interested in the product and want to do more, which is a good sign for AEW if they're that invested in them. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. So you can make the argument, oh, there's already too much wrestling on TV right now. But at the same time, hey, if you get a program out there that people are getting invested in and getting interested in, and like we said, at the end of the day, this is the wrestling business, and it's all about making money. And if AEW can capitalize on this situation, and so be it, and more power to them if they can.
Yeah, Issa, a lot to take in here. What do you think hits priority number one to you in terms of importance?
As far as important goes, I mean, obviously, I think that announcement of the new show, and I think that once that comes, we're gonna find out, is this gonna be like a split roster, what the situation is gonna be, because there is a lot of unanswered questions in regards of Collision, the time that is going to air, the pay-per-view is gonna be split. Like there's a lot of questions. A lot of it comes from the behind the scenes drama. I saw some reports this week that the Elite might be featured on Collision when CM Punk is not there, and Punk will be in Dynamite when the Elite's not there. What are you gonna do when the pay-per-views come around? All of my questions are in regards to the backstage drama. I'm super hyped for AEW, and I don't want to bring WWE into this, but if AEW is about to get $1 billion from Warner Bros., I cannot wait to see the renegotiations of WWE, because those are coming up soon as well. That means the wrestling product is hot right now, and that's great news for people like the three of us.
Absolutely is, and that's a great point you make. Is that WWE is in their renegotiation period as well. They're not they're not going to be announcing anything next week. They're probably several months off. I think the fall is kind of when it's expected to know what WWE's future is as far as TV. But you're right. If AEW comes in and says, "Look, we got this deal. These are our numbers, and this is what we have." WWE has WWE has a bigger audience, and WWE obviously has all a lot of other things they can tout. Mainstream, Bad Bunny, pay-per-view, all this stuff. So in a way, WWE's behind closed doors and a little bit rooting for AEW. It's kind of that. It's kind of like when you're a free agent in sports. If you're a quarterback and you see another quarterback and they get this contract and your stats are equal or above them, you go, "Oh, thank you very much," and your agent goes to work. So, a very interesting situation of what the bar is going to be, of what the asking price is going to be, what the value is going to be perceived to be for primetime television of pro wrestling. And so, that's very, very, very interesting point to make. To the, and I've seen the same thing, to that whole point of that whole rumor of keeping these guys on this show, these guys. I guess I get it for if you're reintroducing somebody like CM Punk back into the fold and you're trying to just get off the ground again smoothly. But how long can you sustain that? It's like a game of elementary school. How long can you sustain making sure you separate these two and put them at different tables? Eventually, everybody's just gonna have to kind of come together and move on if they haven't already.
Exactly. Sometimes you got to put personal differences aside and do business, especially when this generation where people are reading the internet and they're seeing these stories online and the conflict between so-and-so and so-and-so. And what happens if these two guys meet up in the ring? Will they play ball or will they go into business for themselves? Now you're creating a different interest for the hardcore fan. Plus, for the not so hardcore fan, people will go, "Oh, look who's back. Hey, let's check it out."
Absolutely. Amanda, I did the same thing. Amanda comments says, "I thought of Jimmy with the 'It's not pop, it's a soda' sign" in the crowd tonight at Dynamite. Finn's abs ask Issa about the LWO tattoos. We need the T. Issa, the LWO tattoos.
Yeah, I helped coordinate the entire LWO tattoo outing with Selena and Rey and all the Legado del Fantasma. I am now honorary LWO. I participated in the outing. It was the greatest night.
Awesome. She's LWO for life. There you go. Mm-hmm. All right. So some big news headlines. So let's go ahead now and jump in to Dynamite tonight, coming to you from Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. And as soon as we come out of the opening video package, no entrance, no nothing, we are already right to the ring where they're already in the ring. They've already done their entrance in front of a live crowd. Claudio Castagnoli and Rey Phoenix, and now this is a Ring of Honor stipulated match. It's called a double Jeopardy match, which basically, if I understand it right, both are title holders, both Claudio and Rey Phoenix, and whoever wins then automatically gets a shot at. So it's kind of like a dual number one contender kind of stipulation. So kind of cool. Claudio's going to win this with the sit-down powerbomb. Very fast-paced action, as you'd imagine. Taz even said like they're 4 minutes into the show, and the amount of stuff we saw in 4 minutes, normal people would have been throwing up in a trash can, having to move that fast. But Claudio's going to win it with a sit-down powerbomb. So that means that Claudio and the Blackpool Combat Club can now challenge for those tag titles that Rey Phoenix and his brother hold. So a hot opening starting match. Issa, do you like having the ROH Double Jeopardy branded thing here between Claudio and Rey Phoenix to start off a hot Dynamite?
Yeah, I'm glad that they went ahead and explained it immediately on commentary. I think that helped. A lot of us are not familiar with these terms, and when I first see it, I'm like, what does that mean? If Claudio wins his tag team champions, like, what does it mean? But they did an excellent job of having commentary explain to you right away what it meant. As soon as I saw them being in the ring, I had a feeling we were in for a crazy pace show. No entrances. We're just going to get right through it. I appreciated that. I like the stipulation. And because they don't have Ring of Honor stipulations that often anymore, like back when he first purchased Ring of Honor, that's all we were seeing. Now it's very rare, so it makes it a little more interesting. It makes you want to tune in to see what's going on over there as well. Incredible opening match. This match was wild. I mean, I did think they wrestled on the outside a little too long for the count-out rules. I didn't know if we were on a 20 count-out rule. I don't know what happened there. But outside of that, I thought this was an incredible way to start the show.
Jimmy, an opening match did not have Orange Cassidy in it. What did you think of this ROH Double Jeopardy?
You stole my thunder there just now. Anyway. No, but I enjoyed the match very much. And just to be different, it was nice to have that match start off with both participants in the ring, get things started in a hot way. And it was a fast-paced match, but at the same time, it didn't feel like they were rushing. I don't know how to explain it. They sold when they had to sell certain things. And yes, he said maybe there were times, the little things, as I like to talk about, where they were outside a little too long at times. But at the same time, it was a good, entertaining match. And I enjoyed it very much. And the Double Jeopardy stipulation is interesting because a lot of people might say, well, if he's ROH heavyweight champion, why would he want the tag belts as well? Because Claudio wants to dominate all aspects of ROH. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and I would agree with that. And I think, Claudio's one too that I don't, we won't know because it's kind of unprecedented that, because ROH is under Tony Khan's ownership. So I'll be curious to see how long Claudio's, an ROH champion. And then does that go over well enough to where you can make a case that he gets to catapult over and he's in the AEW world title picture, world title or TNT title. So, I mean, Claudio is somebody who he obviously very recognizable face from his days at WWE. And of course his name, just for years of being a part of Ring of Honor and in the independent scene, is in his 40s, but still, as Jimmy's noted tonight, just puts on a fantastic match, knows when to sell, has tremendous show of power. So he's one that I don't want to say is underutilized because again, he's being, pegged as a top guy for the Ring of Honor promotion, but I still feel like there's more that you could get out of this guy who is never hurt. He's always healthy. He seems very reliable. So I'm a big fan of Claudio. So I'm curious to see how the rest of this year goes for him.
Do you think he's going to dig into the Blackpool Combat Club, or do you think he's going to pick somebody from Ring of Honor when he challenges now for the tag team championships?
That's a great. That's a great.
As long as it's not Wheeler Yuta,
Yeah.
I just think it could be a new way to throw somebody in the mix with Ring of Honor. What if he just completely surprise us, bring somebody new, bring somebody from Ring of Honor? I think there's a lot you could do with this now that Claudio won.
Absolutely, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, so big start for the Blackpool Combat Club, and of course they're going to be involved in our main event. So they're going to be bookending the shows here. We see backstage Renee backstage, and all of a sudden she sees Miro. He is alive. Rip down the missing posters, throw away the milk cartons. We have found Miro. He does not say a word, and he just walks into Tony Khan's office. We'd also later see, as Renee is waiting to try to catch Miro leaving, she never apparently does. She was busy tonight. we see Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa says, well, maybe I'm going to go talk to Tony Khan. So Issa kind of seems like that all of what's going, just those two things, as we have new programming coming, that maybe now it's time that we can finally get Miro. Well, he should have never not been on TV, but maybe now we finally have something for him.
Right, agreed. It's almost like everybody that's like, hey, I like CM Punk. They're all showing up to Tony Khan's store right now, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I thought this was great. I mean, I would have rather seen him come back in some kind of angle and get that big crowd pop and all that. But this is a way to build intrigue. The way that they did it is a way to say, okay, things are changing. Something is happening. Something is shifting. It felt that way with this. I was excited. The only thing is that Thunder Rosa called him Poppy Khan, and no, never say those words again. Thank you.
Okay.
Jimmy, your thoughts on seeing Miro?
No, I thought it was great. It was a nice surprise, and it wasn't a re-debut where he came out to save somebody or anything like that. It was done in a way where it was intriguing, and especially the silence. Sometimes silence is golden. You don't always have to talk. Eventually you do, but in this case, it worked, him staying silent. If there is one little thing, if I move a little bit forward, this is where they should have let it go to break. Let people digest what they saw, because it was, in my opinion, a big deal.
It was a big deal, and you're absolutely right about that. Good point.
Yeah, and there's a lot of potential now with and I like the way, I forget which one of you said it, I apologize, but I like the way that they did it, do it rather than having another run out, another post match, whatever. Just him in street clothes, just wandering into the boss's office. I think because now, especially given today and tonight, all that we're talking about, maybe he fights CM Punk on the debut of this new show. Maybe it's something as simple as if Tony Khan does announce next week that CM Punk is returning to AEW. What if now
Clayford in the chat is saying Miro versus Wardlow would be cool, and that would be cool. But I could also see Wardlow again dropping the title if they put him against Miro immediately, and I would like for Wardlow to kind of have a significant run this time with the TNT title. So I think I would rather be more pro Miro and CM Punk. I think that will make me intrigued and excited. Just seeing Miro. I mean, that right there made my night for me. He was missed. There's no reason why you shouldn't have any creative for this man. And I'm happy to see him. Happy to see Thunder Rosa. Please, Andrade next. I'm manifesting it. Andrade next.
Right. We'll see. So we'll keep our eye out. So, yeah, we did not go to break, as Jimmy noted. We get the first of 4 pre-tape kind of vignettes profiling all of the pillars for the big match coming up at Double Nothing. The first one is MJF, and he is talking about how he compares himself and the pillars to the Beatles. He's assigning each one of them. Of course, MJF is Paul. He's got the most longevity. He's going to accomplish the most. What have you guys done? He's asking them, please, to do something to get on his level. Talking about the reign of Tower has just begun. And I'll just kind of real quick, briefly, just go through they do Sammy Guevara's profile, and they have Jericho in there talking about what he sees in Sammy, how good Sammy is, how he's the future. We see one later with Darby. It's got like happy music, and like we see like him and his dad, and in his training is him doing his crazy stunts and stuff, because he figured that it equates to the way he works in the ring. Very not the one that I expected for Darby, and then and Sting's featured in there, of course. And then we get Jungle Boys, and Jungle Boys is showing the ring in the backyard, talking about when he was a kid he started training, and I out of all of them, Jungle Boy came off the least shiniest, if I could say. But nonetheless, they featured all of them. Jimmy, these pre-tapes throughout the night, did you like them? Anything stand out worth noting as we are on our path to Double or Nothing?
No, I enjoyed them all. I thought they were all well done, and they told everybody got to tell a good story and helped get people a little bit more invested in this this 4-way match that's going to happen at Double or Nothing. The only issue I had was, you talk about who should have been first, who should have been last. MJF is the champion. Let the champion talk last. I get the Jungle Boy is hugely over, and his was the last one, if I'm not mistaken, of the 4. But at the same time, MJF can talk a hell of a game, and let him go off in the last video. That's the only thing. Other than that, I thought they were all well done.
Yeah, Issa, what did you think of the profiles of the 4 pillars tonight?
I will say that I thought this did more for them than them going live and doing promos in the ring. I thought this was very much well done. Maybe they're better, with the pre-tape and the story and the edits. They made them look very well. Am I more invested? Not necessarily, but I did think they told a better story with them tonight than what they have been doing. So props to them. I thought this was very well done. I did not like the clash of NJF's printed shirt against the Burberry scarf. I think he should be a little more fashionable than that. Justin LaBar, you're a big suit guy. I think you know where I'm going with that. It was too much of a clash of patterns there. So I just had to add that.
Very fair. I did not write that down, but now that you're saying that,
I got you.
And I'm thinking about it. Yeah, that's actually very fair.
Why do you think the three of us are here? We all bring something different, a different observation, right? That's why we're the trios champs.
Trios champs. So we've talked about this. It's interesting, now I have actual betting numbers to go along with this. So as we talked about, and if this was a shoot fight and shoot fight mathematics, MJF would have the worst odds because he's defending the title against three people simultaneously. He could lose the title without even being in the damn ring. But of course, in pro wrestling booking pro wrestling booking odds, he actually has insanely heavily favored odds. I Bet Online, AG sends me emails every week. They give me the odds of what, for both WWE and AEW. And so I shared the odds of right now where it's at for Double or Nothing with MJF. And rather than, because I don't have a graphic to show, it'll be a lot easier to show numbers with the graphic. I'll just simplify it like this. MJF is so heavily favored that you would have to bet $5,000 on him. If you bet $5,000, you would only get $100 back. That's how surefire Vegas is that MJF is holding on to this title. The next best, so out of the three of them, the one that they give the best fighting chance to, and it's barely, is Darby. Wow. So it's kind of funny. I don't know what that says. I'll be really interested to see how the rest of this build this month goes, how the match goes and is executed, because they are anchoring Double or Nothing around this. But as the three of us have talked about it in the past few weeks, as we thought this is where they were going to end up, it's really hard to even buy in that any of those three are going to be the ones to beat MJF.
Question. If you were Tony Khan and you were just crazy, right, and you said, I'm going to have MJF drop the title, which one would you give it to?
Oh, my goodness. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's to both of you. I would love to know who you got out of these three pillars.
I mean, I guess I kind of agree that if you weren't going to have heel MJF, if for some reason, if Tony got so wacky crazy that one day and was not going to have heel MJF, I would go off the walls babyface Darby.
Okay. Jimmy?
Interesting. I was thinking that because he seems to be so over, maybe there is an argument to be made for someone like Jungle Boy, because he is so over. But Darby Allin has a different story, and he's also got that association with Sting. Yeah. So
is Sammy last? Is Sammy last on these odds?
Yeah, well,
I would think so.
Right? Because you would assume automatically a babyface, right? Like, let's just say if the world was to go crazy and MJF is dropping, it's definitely going to a face.
Yeah. Now, why is the conspiracy theorist in me thinking that maybe we will see something happen?
Well, and to your odds question, Issa, and the odds I'll set, Jungle Boy's last.
Oh, wow. Okay. So who's second? Darby and then Sammy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But my thought is, to your question though, if you weren't going to have MJF, why would you put it on another heel? Why would you go to Sammy?
Right.
So that's why and I disagree with Jimmy. Jungle Boy, while he is over the crowd, and he has a story, and of course he has a family name pedigree in Hollywood. I look at him, I don't buy into him as champion. I don't know why.
I'm not saying I do too either, but I just trying to think like they do over there. Saying, hey, he's getting the most crowd reaction, so why not?
No, Jimmy. Typically, when they get a crowd reaction, they try to kill the momentum. That's how they think over there.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. My bad.
So we'll see. The Double or Nothing in Vegas, and so you got to bring up the Vegas odds. And if you want a really safe bet, go out and you'd have to bet a lot of money to go out and bet on MJF.
Thank goodness I'm a reformed gambler.
Yes. Stay away from it. All right, FTR comes to the ring. They asked for Mark Briscoe to come out, but they don't get Mark Briscoe just yet. They get Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sonya Dutt, Satnam Singh. and then they're trying to challenge FTR, and FTR says, we will accept your challenge if you admit that you've been using Mark Briscoe. Well, then Mark Briscoe comes out. He says it's going to be FTR versus Double J and Jay Lethal, and Mark Briscoe is going to be the special guest referee. And he tries to kind of have a little piece, tries to have a little toast for everybody. Sonya Dutt's going to take a swig of the liquor and spit it in FTR's eyes, and then blinded by the alcohol, they accidentally hit Mark Briscoe. Issa, I feel like things with Mark Briscoe. I'm going to go to you first because I know you were such a fan of the Briscoes. What did you make of this segment? Do you like the pull and tug angle of, no, he's my friend, no, you're using him. Okay, now he's special ref, so we're going to find out, where's the allegiance lie.
I really enjoyed the segment that they did last week at Mark Briscoe's farm. Don't get me wrong. That was one of my favorite things they've done in a while, but literally nobody wants to see this match. They even made the mistake of asking the crowd, oh, you guys want to see? And the crowd said no. Like, nobody wants to see this match. And I do think the addition of Mark Briscoe is great. It's going to add to the match, but it's just not. No, it doesn't do anything for me. And the actual alcohol abuse that went on in this segment, drink the alcohol first and then go at it. Don't freaking waste it on you don't do that, okay? So, but yeah, I'm sorry, this is not it's not a match that I will put on a pay-per-view. No.
Jimmy, anything that involves Jeff Jarrett, Jeff just has a way of surviving in this wrestling business. Could you see Jeff and Jay Lethal winning this match?
It's AEW, so I can see anything happening. You know what I mean? It's one of those deals where, hey, it is Jeff Jarrett. Yes, he is a veteran and so forth. But especially now that they've planted seeds of some potential dissension between Mark Briscoe and FTR. Yeah. And as far as Issa's point about this segment, I wasn't really having a problem with it. The only thing I felt was it felt a little rushed. It felt like they could have taken their time a little bit with this segment and let it marinate, let it breathe, and let the audience really get in, wait for certain things before going into the next thing. It just felt a little rushed to me. But other than that,
no, I agree with you. I mean, all things considered, I know you're trying to get matches. I mean, it's May 10th. I know you're trying to get matches made for Double or Nothing and this and that, but all things considered, I think they could have held this. This did not need to be on tonight. It felt like when you look at things in totality for the night, and kind of like going back to what you said, maybe you see Miro backstage, maybe you have time to go to the break then, and you can come back and do some of the Pillars vignettes, or I'm sure there's other matches that we'll touch on that they could have given a few. I don't know, but yeah, I agree. I don't know if this had to be out there tonight because you're right, it's out there, but it felt like they were really, really, really. They were in like a light jog to get it going.
Yeah. Sadman should have came out in the overalls. Missed opportunity. I don't want to see him in anything else but the overalls now.
Dylan Matthews says Mark Briscoe's turning heel. I don't know. I don't know if
he's too likable, man.
Yeah, he's too likable, and I mean, I hate to be this way, but it's a reality of people's natural reactions. I think with the tragic loss of his brother, I don't think people want to boo him.
No, I don't. No.
So
agreed.
All right, backstage, Renee back at it. She's talking to Chris Jericho and she asks him, how does he feel about Adam Cole getting the best of him last week? And Jericho does not like that question. He continues to call Adam Cole a coward. He said that he got a court order and Adam Cole was not allowed in any building that he's in. Then Roderick Strong, Adam's best friend, shows up and says that Adam Cole is not a coward and Roddy is not banned. So how about you and I go at it, Chris Jericho? And challenges him to next week, a Falls Count Anywhere fight. And Jericho accepts, but just kind of alludes to the fact that JAS and the army he has behind him. And Roddy said he kind of anticipated that, so he did some legal work himself, and he hands some paperwork to Jericho, and he tells Jericho that JAS is banned from the building next week. So it should be a honest one-on-one fight between Roderick Strong, yes, Issa, and Chris Jericho. Jimmy, fellow Canadian to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho versus Roderick Strong. Do you like court orders and stuff like that coming in? What do you think?
Well, I don't mind it at times, but it just in this case, I think it does work to a certain extent because it kind of fits with Jericho's kind of heel persona, where he says, "Hey, look, I had to go to the court and get a court order to not allow those guys in the building." But how did Roddy anticipate that this was going to happen? And you know what I mean? That's the only thing. If he'd have showed up next week before the match and said, "Hey, by the way, guess what? You're not the only one who can go to a lawyer. I can too." Don't do it in the same night. It doesn't have to happen all at once. That's all.
Who do they go to for this? Is this Wrestler's Court, or do he actually go to
that guy that's a lawyer in the show? What's his name? Mark Sterling. Yeah. Yeah. That's who they're going to, because that's what I would expect, right? Jericho goes to him. If I'm him and I want to make money, I call Roderick Strong too and be like, "Hey, listen, this just happened. I don't know if you want to work a deal, but I can help you out too." Just saying. That's
actually good. Yeah, you have a lawyer on the roster, and so that's and that's who everybody goes to. Let me get some super chats in here. Some have been waiting patiently. We'll kind of go wherever the crowd takes us here. Tommy O, $5. Tommy says, "How wasn't Issa not given one of the 3 belts at the press conference for bringing Backlash to Puerto Rico? You were screwed. All hail the NYC Demon Diva."
I did have a really nice moment with Triple H where he looked at me and he says, "See, I told you," and I was like, "I know." I wanted to cry. It was awesome. So Triple H did acknowledge. Don't worry.
Cool.
Yeah. What is this here? 3 Deep, after split, what happens? World title? Do we get another title or champion travel between brand? Love the podcast. Jimmy, you missed Pink Wednesday.
I didn't want to say anything. I'm glad somebody else did.
Well, it's funny. Well, earlier I didn't get to actually say this, but 3D, thank you for kind of bringing this up. I did wonder if we are going to get Collision, like I was wondering, like, okay, mirrors, like, is this a chance for like a Miro or somebody to be? Do they do another world title? Is it? Or do they say Collision? This is where the TNT title, especially if Collision's all on TNT, is this where the TNT title lives?
I would rather that than having another world champion, because we've seen what it did in WWE. It's a little confusing. I like it better when there's one champion, and we see it at the introduction of this World Heavyweight Championship over there. Not to talk about the other guys right now, but it's causing some dissension with the fans as well. So I don't think the introduction of another championship is good. You have a TNT champion. Why not feature him on the TNT show, like you said?
I'm going to say it right now. If CM Punk wants to prove his worth to come back, if he wants to prove that he can play, play in everybody's sandbox, if he wants to give back to the business, have CM Punk return on that for the first time back in the ring on the debut of Collision. Have him challenge for the TNT title and let Wardlow kick his ass. You want to give back to the business? Prove yourself.
There you go.
Let Wardlow kick your ass, and don't go cry about it in a post-match press conference. That's my
or come out on stage and sit cross-legged and drop a bomb.
Do you think they let him do any more press conferences?
They should probably just stop doing press conferences altogether.
Wire him to something electronic, so every time it looks like he's going to go off the rails, just.
They'll let him do press conferences like the one they did for Backlash, where there's no actual questions asked and it's all produced. That's the only conferences that you'll see him do.
Okay.
I like Jimmy's idea. It's like you're training a dog with a bar collar.
Every time he answers correctly, they give him a Mindy's cupcake. You know?
I would answer correctly all the time then.
Yeah.
No, not a cupcake. What was that thing that he was eating from?
A muffin or something?
He was praising he was giving the local business a shout out. No, but seriously though, I hope, and I don't think AEW will, because I think AEW, this is one of those things where they do hear. I think they would probably see that, okay, we don't want 2 world champions, but they hopefully would see, let this be a chance to elevate the TNT, elevate the TBS title, get Jade on more. I think, let's hope that they don't do a second world title.
For the record, LaBar, cupcakes and muffins are the same thing. Cupcakes are just more dressed up than a muffin. That's the difference. They have.
Well, I'm not a big. I'm not a big.
Better outfit.
I'm not a big sweets person, so I'm not. For my birthday, I don't want cake or anything. I ask for a cheesecake. I just want like a plain cheesecake.
I ask for alcohol.
Well, that too. I'm talking about the thing that I can put candles in and I can blow out.
Well, I'm lucky because my better half is excellent when it comes to making sweets and delicious things. So I definitely outkicked my coverage there.
Could you please ask her if she thinks that muffins and cupcakes are the same thing? One just has frosting and the other one doesn't.
I'll try and have the answer for you next week.
Thank you, Jim.
Again, I'll try to remember. Again, too many ref bumps. You know.
I might have to DM. I might have to DM.
There you go.
Clay Ford says cupcake vodka. Yeah, that tastes like chocolate batter. Cupcake vodka. Yeah, Jimmy, not the sweet side, but yeah, I can't look at yours or your wife's social media when I'm hungry because you guys just like are torture.
Every single time.
Well, thank you.
I'm serious.
Started following on Instagram. I'm like, Jimmy, what are you doing?
All right. We get the AEW International title match. Champion Orange Cassidy up against Daniel Garcia. I got to say, Daniel Garcia got a lot of good heat. I guess good heat's kind of a lot of quality heat for a heel in this match for Daniel Garcia. The finish is an interesting sequence. There is a real dramatic sequence of submissions that Garcia has got on Orange Cassidy. And finally, Orange Cassidy eventually actually counters and does transition it into like a roll-up to get the win. So there's your roll-up. But, so Orange win, and of course, there's a lot of the normal staples. At one point, he's mocked by Garcia, but Orange he is fighting back. He's getting his hand just obliterated. And then, of course, again, the submission sequence that we mentioned here. Issa, your thoughts? Orange Cassidy still is over like Rover. I know we kind of bemoan a little bit him always in the opening and this and that. He's still over like Rover. I wonder, you might be able to argue at this point, just on fan measurement, he might be having the best title reign of any of the champions in AEW right now.
Oh yeah, 1000%. He's working himself into a nice little streak. Typically, we have to see it at the opening of every show, so it was nice to not have to see him opening the show here. I tell you guys this every week. Once he's in the ring, I'm a big fan. He puts on really, really good matches against whoever you put him in there with. I thought that Garcia looked great tonight. I thought it was a great, excellent. Sorry, I just read that. You need to read that for the listeners. You need to read that for the audio, LaBar. But yeah, I thought Daniel Garcia looked great tonight.
Dylan Matthews threw in a chat and said, "Let LaBar walk Wardlow out to watch Phil get the shit beat out of him."
Tremendous. Thank you, Dylan, for being such a follower. It's amazing. You're doing. You've submitted a good comment when you can derail the podcast a little bit. Give me a break character. What were we talking about again?
Oh yeah, it's Daniel Garcia and Orange Cassidy.
No, I did. It was a good match. I like. See, here's the thing too. I like Orange Cassidy does something that's very interesting. He does his routine with the hands in the pockets and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, oh man, he sells when he needs to sell properly, and he overcomes adversity. In a good babyface way, and that's why people are behind him so much. The only thing is the dreaded roll-up finish. Yeah. Yes, it was a nice sequence going into it, but at the same time, there was so much other stuff in that match that could have been a finish. That here we go again. You kick out of the most incredible things, but the roll-up is the one that people seem to be flabbergasted by lately.
Yeah. Huffman Elite Training says Orange Cassidy is the worst Tony Khan project of all time. He is good athletically in the ring, but the character work gets annoying and distracting. Well, let me say this: I understand why they stick behind Orange Cassidy. He is really over with kids, and you go to a lot of kids dress up like, and not even just kids, adults dress up like. He is memorable, and there's kind of like this great debate of like. You can look at some of his things he does and say that's just so unrealistic, and why would he only lightly kick a guy's shin? But then it's like think about what we've seen in pro wrestling and what's gotten over other wild characters, and it's like, well, where's the line of absurdity? So I don't know. I don't know if it's even I don't even know if I call it a Tony Khan project. Unless you mean just because Tony Khan has let him hold this title for as long as I don't know, but. Issa, where do you gauge? If you're Tony Khan, if it's your money, if it's your promotion, you're booking. Do you rely on Orange Cassidy as much as he does?
I rely on whoever yeses me if I'm the owner of a company. So
yeah.
I told you guys I'm not a big fan of his character. at all. I'm a fan of Orange Cassidy once the bell rings and I see him working the ring. But I understand what they're targeting with this character. And you said it yourself. I mean, every AEW show I've ever been to, I see plenty of kids dressed like Orange Cassidy. And I don't think that there's a lot of people in AEW going after that market. The kids, man. The kids get the parents to spend money. That's who you go after, you know? So,
Yeah.
but I don't think that Orange Cassidy is for everyone. But the one thing that AEW does offer throughout their shows is literally something for everyone. So when you might not like that segment with Orange Cassidy, but there is something in there that you're gonna enjoy in these shows.
Yeah, and Jimmy, the one thing I think about with Orange Cassidy is, and you have to wait till it's really the right time. You have to really feel like you've kind of tapped out all of your options, but is the day they decide to let the character evolve and they do a heel turn.
Oh,
and break those little kids' hearts.
Oh yeah. See. Usually, what happens? The best heels are the ones who are the most beloved, especially with children. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see when that happens. When he goes to put his hands in his pockets and everybody's ready to go, and he goes, "Nah," or something. You know what I mean?
When he goes to do this, and then just flicks them off.
Oh yeah, or something. Anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's still your international champion, is Orange Cassidy, and we'll see a little bit more of him and his buddies here in a bit. Okay, now it's time for Tony Schiavone to interview Christian Cage. Big thing to note here: Wardlow and Arn Anderson are not there in Detroit. Christian Cage, when asked why do you just get to be the number one contender for the TNT title, he says it's because I'm Christian Cage. It's because I am who I am and I've done all that I've done. He's trying to get out this promo and he's trying to like actually follow this theme. He's going to talk about like dads and mentorship with Arn and like the crowd is just so on him. He like I don't even think they're actually hearing what he's saying. I mean, which is just a testament to the heat that he's able to get. But he's talking about what's with all the daddy issues here in AEW. He's talking about how Wardlow's father is deceased, which is true, and how Wardlow's father wasn't famous. He's not even going to waste his time on that. And it's good that Wardlow found Arn Anderson as like a father figure, and Arn was probably looking for a new son. Notes how Arn's actual real son, Brock Anderson's in AEW, but nobody knows or cares who he is, and Arn probably wants to run and hitch his wagon to Wardlow. Better stock there. And then he proceeds to start to mock Arn Anderson as a legend, saying, I guess you're the other guy when you're in a tag team with Tully Blanchard, and you're just Ric Flair's lackey. Just how many world titles have you won, Arn Anderson? Just verbally eviscerating Arn Anderson. And I want to note this whole time, this whole thing, okay? Luchasaurus walks out and is with him and is in the ring the whole time. And then Christian finishes. And Christian leaves and is halfway up the ramp. Luchasaurus is still in the ring. So the big guy is there, but Christian has took full command of this. I don't know if it's all by design, and that's a little subtle foreshadowing. But Jimmy, again, fellow Canadian and friend of yours, the Christian Cage promo, heat of the night, right?
Oh, I would agree. That was definitely heat of the night. If there's one thing that Christian knows how to do, both backstage and in the ring, is get heat. And he's just a natural at it. You know what I mean? It's you could tell at times back in the day when him and Edge were baby faces, you could tell he was like, not that he minded being a baby face, but at times you could say, you know what? I have more fun doing my heel stuff. And he's just so good at it. It's so natural. But that stuff you said where he finished talking to Tony Schiavone, he walked halfway off the ramp and left the big guy in the ring, and almost, Luchasaurus going like, where the hell's he going? And all that stuff. What about me? I think that is a little bit by design because they planted seeds. Even last week when he said, it's not for him, the title shot, it's for me. You saw the kind of surprised look on Luchasaurus's face. So I think it's more seeds. The seeds were planted. Tonight they were watered.
Isa, do you want to see Christian Cage versus Wardlow at Double or Nothing?
Yeah, I would. I love this promo. I love how Christian can still do the heat that he generates from a crowd. It's just unmatched. I was a big fan of this. And yeah, I won't mind the match. I think it's a great twist. I really was thinking that it was going to be Luchasaurus the whole time. So I like the swerve. And like you said, they're planting seeds for even a different story here in the future. So I'm here for all of this. And this was I just love some good old heel heat, almost as good as Dominic Mysterio. Almost.
Dominic does get there is no pipe down sound with him. He's pretty impressive.
No, there isn't. There isn't. He played to Puerto Rico to a T this last weekend too. It was great.
Wow.
All right, we get the a women's no holds barred match between Julia Hart and Anna Jay. Julia Hart comes out in her House of Black kind of entrance, and she's actually attacked from behind by Anna Jay. So not often you see a babyface do the run from behind attack in the middle of an entrance, but they're trying to sell it as this is the animosity and the hatred that the former friends now have with each other. And so this match looked, they did, it was no holds barred. We saw a ton of chairs, kendo sticks. I mean, these ladies definitely put their bodies out there in a pretty lengthy match. It did have commercial in between it. The finish was after excuse me, after suplex off the ropes into the pile of chairs. Julia Hart then locks in the Heartless Lock, which is kind of like a version of like a crossface, and right in the middle of the pile of chairs, and that does get the victory for Julia Hart. Issa, they were on slightly earlier in the 9 o'clock hour. What did you make of this hardcore exhibit from two of the lesser known women, relatively speaking? When we have the Outcast versus Britain, everybody, that's kind of top of the line, and of course Jade Cargill somewhere up there.
Right.
But Julia Hart and Anna Jay getting a live match on Dynamite, no holds barred.
Look, it is great to see different names being featured here, especially these women that are in factions that are heavily featured every week. But I wasn't a fan of this match. I couldn't understand why they were fighting you. Anna Jay is a heel, as far as I know. She's part of JAS. They're heels. House of Black, I believe, are heels. So you really don't know right. Who are you supposed to root for here? And I don't understand. This is a storyline that was originated in Rampage, but guess what? Nobody has watched Rampage for weeks. So why are they fighting? Why are they getting this spot? Why, when we not seen them for 3-4 weeks in Dynamite, now they're getting a no holds barred match of all? Like it just felt like they just put it there to put a women's match there, and let's just put 2 new names just to do it. No story behind it. So I wasn't a big fan, but I always have nothing but respect for anybody that does a match to that level of intensity. So I give them props. I just wish there was better storyline being told for the other women that are not the certain names that we hear about every week.
You are right. I did misspeak. Anna Jay is a heel, but I see some in the chat saying like John saying House of Black are faces. I don't think they're faces. So this is actually a heel.
Yeah, faces of darkness. You don't know who to you didn't know who to cheer for here. You didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess Jimmy, I guess Anna Jay's attack is not as weird, because you're right, it is a heel. But what do you think of this match overall? And the ladies getting a live, hardcore. We'll call it a light hardcore match, especially considering what's going to end the show tonight.
No, I get it, and that's the thing too. I give the ladies full credit for the match that they had, because they did work really hard to make this thing. This hardcore match, or it wasn't even technically a hardcore match. It was a no holds barred match. But they used a lot of weapons, especially a lot of chairs and stuff like that, and battled outside a lot. And they worked really hard, and it looks like they put a lot into it. But I do agree with Lisa that there's really no story going into it, other than the fact that they used to be friends and now they're not, and that's it. But again, the credit to the ladies for putting on the performance that they did under these circumstances. Was I invested only to see, how it turned out? That's all.
Yeah. I always watch Julia Hart, and actually, just as I'm saying this, there's a chat here. Julia Hart, from a Minnesota girl. I believe she trained with one of my favorites, Mr. Ken Kennedy Anderson, and she's super young. I think she's like 21. I mean, she's really young. Or if not 21, then not much beyond it. She's relatively young to be getting this kind of reps and experience. If she sticks with it and continues to improve and obviously stay healthy, that's the biggest thing. Could have a long career ahead of her, just to be in the position she is at the age she is. So I always kind of watch her with a little bit of a special attention. But yeah, they both worked their ass off. But yeah, actually now that really as I was corrected, heel versus heel, it is an interesting scenario that they put out there. And again, asking the ladies to go out there and do a no holds barred hardcore match, and then again what they're going to have to follow them about 20 minutes later, which we'll get to, is pretty insane. All right, we get the best friends of Chuck and Trent and Bandito going up against the House of Black, up against Malachi, Buddy, and Brody. It's open house, house rules. So 20 count out, no DQ. Best friends say no witchy women are going to be able to be out there. They give a different visual.
DQ is enforced. It is not DQ. DQ is enforced. Read it.
I could have swore they said no DQ.
No, read what Buddy Matthews tweeted. He tweeted out the rules. And the rule number 3 is DQ is enforced. If you can't fight by the rules, you need to live with the embarrassment. I read the whole thing.
I'm not questioning. I could have swore commentary though tonight said no DQ.
Right.
They didn't read the tweet then.
All right. Well, that just goes to show we're not all on the same page of what the hell the house rules are.
The house rules are, yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah.
Well, the house was pretty dark. They just had a spotlight on the ring. Everything else is pitch black. Issa, what did you think of this first open house match? The visual of it, trying to give it its own little kind of gimmick and identity. Did it do anything for you?
Yes, I loved it. I know a lot of people don't like the lights out atmosphere, but for the House of Black, it makes sense. It goes with the entrance. It goes with the aesthetics that they're putting out. I love them making their own rules. And if you really go, I don't know if the rest of the group tweeted it. I read it from Buddy Matthews. He tweeted out the rules and the explanation behind them. And I thought it made sense. I was like, maybe are they the biggest baby faces on AEW right now? Because these rules make sense and the way that he broke them down. So I love the idea of House of Black. They have their own identity, so why not have their matches have their own stipulation and their own vibe and feel to them? Big fan of it. Almost forgot they were the trio champs, so I love seeing them being featured here. More of this. Big fan. Great match. Brody Lee is a beast. Oh, House of Black is just it. They're it.
Brody King.
Yes.
Sorry, Brody King. You know.
So if I didn't correct you, you'd get hammered with that one. So.
Yeah.
Jimmy, in pro wrestling history, sometimes this is the big risk to take with fans. We've seen, WWE try to do things like this with Bray, with having different visuals in the arena and lighting. We've seen Kane. We've even seen we've seen it before. How did it come off to you tonight with House of Black?
Well, it ended up being done well because when they first did it, when the match first started, it was just the ring lit up and you couldn't see the audience at all. And then they kind of adjusted the lighting just a little bit where you can see them, not like full lighting, but you can see a little bit of the audience out there because you want to see some reaction, because that helps tell the story. Because if you see the audience reacting, sometimes it helps you feel better about reacting as well. But I enjoyed it. I like the idea of having their own rules attached to it. The one thing that confused me, though, was they said there's a 20 count outside the ring. And I thought for a while there, and my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, mentioned this on our podcast one day, that when he went to AEW to referee, the referees there told him, remember, Brian, here, there's a 20 count outside the ring. So I thought they implemented that there. Now, whether they retracted that, I don't know. I don't recall. But I remember them mentioning that the rules here, 20 count on the outside, 10 count after a tag.
Forget CM Punk. That needs to be the next point of order for a press conference. Tony has to tell us the damn rules and understand so we can all be on the same page.
There you go.
Because I think it's one of those things where it's just not. If a guy like Brian, who was there to work and be a referee, if he is hearing different information, if not, then it's clearly it's not everybody's on the same page of what they're doing.
But outside of that, I did enjoy the match.
Yeah.
I did. I thought it was. Nicely presented. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and then the finish was Brody King hits Chuck with the Dante's Inferno. Exactly. So yeah, I agree. I think House of Black is a hit. I think Malachi is a huge star. He's been on TV. He's not been disappeared like Miro, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like you got somebody really, really unique and special here, and unique look, passes my airport test. I hope this starts momentum, and I hope with adding another show in Collision, if it truly is going to be not a Rampage throwaway, if it's truly going to be a Raw SmackDown kind of deal where both shows are of equal footing, I hope that means that more regular TV time for the House of Black. They're your trio's champ, but also just because they are an intriguing, visually compelling group. So we'll see. We'll see if they stick with it. Backstage, he's watching Best Friends and Bandito. He's watching, and then he gets laid out. And we see him on the ground. Camera pans up. It's kind of anticlimactic if you're not a New Japan fan, but it's Kyle Fletcher, who's part of the Aussie Open group. So likely this is starting to plant the seeds for Forbidden Door, which is coming up in June. So just a little note. I don't really think there's much to give of reaction here, but seems to be what they're aiming there. All right, main event time. Steel cage match. Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega. Moxley's out first. We take a commercial break, come back. Omega comes out with Don Callis at his side. Don Callis is going to be at ringside, not on commentary. Important to remember. Bryan Danielson then said is going to do some guest commentary. As Moxley is, as Omega is coming out in his entrance, Moxley charges the ramp and attacks him. So we got a brawl before the match has even started. That brings out Claudio and Yuta. That brings out the Bucks. So we have all hell breaking loose all around the rampant stage. All this before the match has even started. Eventually, Wheeler, Claudio, the Bucks, they all cancel each other out and are out of the picture. So kind of nice. It's almost like, well, we're just kind of telling you right now, these guys are brawling each other. They're brawling all the way to the back. So they're kind of out of the picture at this point. So kind of sets up like, okay, we are and Brian's on commentary. He doesn't even get involved in the brawl. So it kind of gives you that belief that, okay, we are now down truly to just Kenny and John, which is important. Match starts.
But isn't that the whole point of the steel cage? I mean, I get it. You have to set up the story for what Don Callis did later, but
yeah. But I don't.
But
I don't mind it because it's again, because it's kind of like, we've seen obviously people get inside of cages or whatever. So I kind of like the effort of trying to make you truly believe we are going to finally get true one-on-one comeuppance here.
I never believed that in AEW.
Well, you're a New York or Puerto Rican girl. You're always looking over your shoulder. That's the street smarts you have. You're never trusting there. You're throwing flip flops at people.
There you go.
Yeah, but mine has high heels, but I'm still throwing them.
Yes. All right, so the match finally starts. Quickly, a barbed wire wrap steel chair is introduced, and the blood just starts a coming.
2 minutes and 2 seconds in. I typed it.
It is backs and faces and suplexes on it. Moxley's removing the top rope while they're in commercial. Broken glass, which has history
everywhere.
Broken glass everywhere.
I loved it so much.
Kenny hits the V trigger, and that breaks a side of the cage, which is important because now the cage is exposed to get in easily. And Moxley grabs a screwdriver. Looks like he's going to use it. That obviously has history in the story. Don Callis takes it away from him. Looks like he's saving Kenny. Kenny's going to hit the one-winged angel. Looks like he has business all wrapped up. And Don Callis interrupts, stops the pinfall, attacks Kenny at the 2 count, and then attacks him with the screwdriver. And Jon Moxley gets the win. So Moxley wins. Don Callis, not a total surprise. We've been speculating will this happen. Don Callis turns on Kenny Omega, somebody who's his commentary was equating almost like a son to him, has known Kenny since he was a kid. Bryan Danielson selling on commentary. He had no idea this was coming. We saw no embrace of Callis and Moxley, no grandmaster plan. Moxley just kind of rolled off into the darkness, on his own. And Don Callis did what he did. Jimmy, thoughts on the match, thoughts on the execution, thoughts on the logic behind it. Obviously, Blackpool Combat Club does not have William Regal anymore. Right. So this is kind of in a way maybe a replacement if, in fact, he's going to align himself with the BCC.
Like you said, if he is, and if he is, this was a great way to do it. And the cage match, I did enjoy it to a certain extent, but there were certain things in it where they brought in all these weapons and tools. And we just had a hardcore match not too long before that. It felt like, the cage match is there. You can use the cage in a violent manner as well. And I like the idea of Moxley undoing the top, turnbuckle in the corner and unhooking the rope and using that and hooking it into his mouth and doing it. See, that's different and that's violent. And it's like, but I think they tried to take the violent level up to 14. You know what I mean? Not 10, 14. And it wasn't needed that much. But hey, other than that, people were into it. They liked it. It told a heck of a story, especially at the end there when Don Callis coming in. And Don Callis is so much better as a heel. Let's put it that way. And they could even play it off like they didn't know it was coming. and Don could just say, hey, look, I know Kenny very well. And at the end of the day, I align myself with winners. And I see the Blackpool Combat Club as winners or something like that.
Issa, did you like the turn?
I did like the turn. And just for 1 second, I don't want to disagree with Jimmy, but if you look at the history that John Moxley and Kenny Omega have had, like I think the only time Moxley has beat him, I was told earlier, was that unsanctioned match that they had back in 2019. They also had that exploding barbed wire match. Like there is no way that I want to see Kenny Omega and Mox just have like a 5 version of a hardcore match after the thing that I seen them put each other through. So I personally expected that level of violence. I didn't need a women's non-story hardcore match to go on before this. I didn't. I wanted to see all of the violence from this particular match. So I could have done without that match tonight. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Is that not to interrupt you? That stuff that we saw in the cage match would have meant so much more.
Correct.
If we didn't see that earlier. That's all. I agree with you completely.
Yeah, correct. But I do, just based on their history, I did expect this to go like insanely crazy. When I saw the time that they were giving it, I was also like, oh man, we're in for a treat. So I love the match. I love the violence in the match. I mean, you don't see Kenny Omega lose. So the fact that they did do the turn to kind of like protect the loss a little bit, it worked. And they didn't really tell you, is Don Callis now BCC or is he just turning on Kenny? There's still unanswered questions. And honestly, I can't remember the last time that they went off the air this hot. I think it's been a while. So I'm super excited that they did it and it went off the air. No overplaying, no nothing. I mean, I felt there was a little bit of a tease that Brian might have known about this, or he just like, he plays this heel character so well. He enjoyed the crap out of this turn, and I just love his facials as they were showing him. But super excited. I think it's a really fun way of AEW to go off the air and get me to say, hey, I can't wait to watch next week. Just please. Just play it out next week. Don't act like it didn't happen. That's all I'm begging for.
Right.
Well, I think it's a great point, Issa, on the way they ended. Because you're right. We have critiqued them, and Jimmy has not even said 20-10 yet tonight. We in other episodes, they would have had Don do the turn, and when Don did the turn and the match was over, I looked at the clock. I think it was 9:57 Eastern time. So they still had 3 whole minutes, which 3 whole minutes is an eternity.
In AEW, yeah, the whole locker could come out.
and live TV in AEW, 3 whole minutes is an eternity. So I thought, like, oh my god, Don just turned on him. Somebody else is gonna come out and like we're gonna, but no, they just let the heel heat just kind of.
They just let them kiss, literally.
Yeah, you know, and so I thought that was a good touch. Shout out on some chats here. I always love inside jokes or pools. Once a jackal, always a jackal. If you watched WWF in the 90s, you get that one. And if you watched a little ECW, you get this one. Callis is a virus. And AEW, Cyrus the Virus.
So who? Oh, I was just going to say, who sent that? Cyrus?
Cyrus the Virus. Yeah, it's a very interesting ending tonight to it. What was a stacked show on paper, and seeming to be the last Dynamite before we are going to get the AEW universe turned upside down, as they are probably going to be this time next week. We were probably going to be talking about a whole lot of official information being confirmed as regards to their programming. So, Jimmy, overall thoughts tonight on the show, as they are still, I think we got 2 more Dynamites before Double or Nothing, I believe.
No, I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed the show. It was entertaining, but it's for me, it's those little things that they keep doing every week that kind of make me go, come on, guys, how do you not see this? You know, especially like you talk about, I didn't say the 20-10 line this week, but at the same time, there were moments where it felt like things were rushed and they were trying to get too much in and let things, like you talked about the ending tonight, they let it breathe, they let it marinate, they let the audience take it in and absorb everything. Sometimes you just got to do that, and unfortunately, other things will get left out.
I'll be Issa. I'll be very interested to see if once the new show is announced and once it comes into place mid-June, as we're led to believe, will we start to notice a difference where they are letting some things breathe because they don't feel as rushed because they have more television real estate to get the bigger names out there. They don't feel like we got to get this person out. I'll be really curious to know, like by the end of the summer, if the 3 of us are still all together here on Wednesday nights, if we're noticing a difference of like, oh, you know, we're not critiquing that part as much anymore.
Right. Me too. I think you have a valid point, and me too. I think they're gonna have better time and better momentum to like tell the stories, and more time for some people to show up on TV. But as far as tonight goes, I thought tonight was a great show. I mean, you had a fun opener, you had a hot ending. They always think about that, how you start, how you end. We saw the return of some people without giving away what they're doing here. We makes you want to tune in for next week. Was the show perfect? No show is perfect. No show is perfect. So, but what they gave us tonight, I gotta tell you, I enjoyed tonight's a lot. I'm happy to see Miro back. Curious to see where we're going with this. Everything about tonight was well executed, except for the women. But you know what? That's normal around here. So
yeah, I'll be intrigued to see the segment by segment numbers. I always am to see where the crowd fluctuates at. All right, that is AEW Dynamite's podcast here tonight on Wrestling Inc. Again, big thanks to all of you who watching live with us across the platforms: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Those of you that are watching the video on the archive because you want to see Issa and see all and Jimmy and I are here too. We appreciate you watching that. Those of you that are checking out the audio only, we appreciate you. Again, whatever channel you're on, whatever platform you're on. Follow, like, subscribe, whatever it asks you to do. Make sure you get the alerts and notifications every time there's a new podcast coming from Wrestling Inc. And of course, leave a comment, greatly appreciated. Tell a friend. Hit any of us up on social media. Tell us where in the world you are when you're checking out this podcast. What is it doing for you? I'm looking right here at L Tabor 22 on Twitter. He says, my first podcast when I get to work. Big smiley face. So hopefully we get your Thursday morning started off right. Issa, give the final plugs.
You guys can find me at NYC Demon Diva throughout all the socials. We just hit 20K on YouTube. Thank you so much. And you guys can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I am also on Lucha Libre Online. I received so much love this weekend. A lot of it was from Wrestling Inc. viewers and listeners. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Puerto Rico was awesome. Best wrestling crowd there is. I'm dying on that hill.
Awesome.
Well, that's a strong hill to die on right now after the audience performance this past Saturday. Certainly something I saw noted across social media. Jimmy, give people the plugs of how they can find you and interact with you.
No, of course you can find me here on Wednesday nights with you two, and also on did I say Wednesday nights?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure I got the nights right, because on Monday nights, it's usually Triple J, and you can. Yeah, I know that doesn't thrill Issa as much, but hey, you can catch us here. And also you can catch me on Wednesdays. It drops the Roughing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hepner, and I, and RJ, our host, who this week we talked to Kenny Casanova, who, helped write a lot of wrestling books and has a storied wrestling career. A very interesting conversation we had with him. Real good dude. And, of course, my Rough and Rants on all my social media platforms from Monday to Friday, having fun, making little critiques, but not trying to tear down, trying to help elevate.
Very good. I'm at Justin LaBar across Twitter and Instagram. Here every Monday night, every Wednesday night, Friday morning, spar with LaBar, with Dave LaGreca, Thunder Rosa, sometimes Tommy Dreamer, or something. Yeah, who knows? That's the entire busted open cast. I'm always ready to throw it down with. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, as I said. Look, again, please subscribe to the podcast. We have a hell of a summer coming up. Obviously, Double or Nothing coming up. Forbidden Door, Money in the Bank.
Hell of a May coming up. We have Battleground, Double or Nothing, Night of Champions all in 2 nights. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I left that on Night Champions. Night Champions, with so much going on this summer. So make sure you are subscribed to Wrestling Inc. For all of your podcasts. Buffoonery and banter. It's all good here. It's all allowed. All right, that's going to do it. Have a good night. Like I said, tell a friend, share the podcast. You tell one friend, they tell 2 friends, so on, so on, and so on. It's a slight Wayne's World reference. You get it if you get it. We'll see y'all next week.